From the Delhi studios of Republic TV, it's time for The Debate.
Welcome. You're watching The Debate. I'm Sagarika Mitra, and the Prime Minister today has sent an uncompromising message by naming Pakistan-backed and groups that operate on Pakistani soil for the Nagrota terror attack.
And I'm Niranjan, and over the next 2 hours, we look at 3 big debates. But first up, the silence of the Gupkar gang. The Gupkar League, which was formed recently, has nothing to say about the role of Jaish-e-Mohammed and the attempt to target India once again. 3 big debates. Here's what we have for you on the debate tonight. Debate number 1, the Prime Minister has named and exposed Pakistan terror, Jaish-e-Mohammed.
And on debate number 2, veterans today have sent out a strong message. There can be no compromise with national security, especially when it comes to the kind of charges in the Augusta Westland scam.
And the continuous decline of the Congress party, there is much more confusion. We'll tell you all about that as the top brass seems to be headed to Goa. There's complete chaos. We'll tell you all about that. Here are the headlines on the debate this Friday evening.
Prime Minister Modi names and exposes Pakistan-based Jaish-e-Mohammed for plotting a massive attack in India.
Forces thwart Masood Azhar's plot to carry out strikes on Indian soil 12 years after 26/11 Mumbai attack.
78 veterans give a strong message on UPA-era defense scams. No compromise on national security can be tolerated.
Revolt, infighting and complete chaos. The Congress crumbling as Sonia and Rahul take off to Goa amid crisis in the party.
Enforcement Directorate takes over investigation into the fake TRP scam. Sources say Mumbai police probe will also come under the scanner.
ED sources telling Republic that those named in the original Mumbai police FIR that they did not tell you about, the channels that were named there, will be summoned for investigation.
India thwarted a major terror attack on Thursday. Terrorists killed in Jammu and Kashmir's Nagrota were planning something big on the anniversary of the 26/11 Mumbai terror attack.
The Prime Minister, who held a meeting with the Home Minister, the National Security Advisor, the Foreign Secretary, top intelligence officials this afternoon following the killing of Jaish terrorists, has called out the terror nation called Pakistan.
These 6 blasts sent a resounding message to the enemies across the border. India will not allow terror on its soil. 11 AK-47 rifles, 13 grenades, 24 magazines, 7.5 kg RDX. The warlike store recovered made it clear the 4 Jaish terrorists who were gunned down were plotting a big terror attack. This was confirmed by the Prime Minister. He tweeted, and I quote, "Neutralizing of 4 terrorists belonging to Pakistan-based terrorist organization Jaish-e-Mohammed and the presence of large cache of weapons and explosives with them indicates that their efforts to wreak major havoc and destruction have once again been thwarted." Our security forces have once again displayed utmost bravery and professionalism. Thanks to their alertness, they have defeated a nefarious plot to target grassroots-level democratic exercises in Jammu and Kashmir. This tweet came after a high-level meeting chaired by the Prime Minister.
There is a high-level meeting going on, and there are apprehensions that it was just to blast Kashmir Valley, to do bloodshed in Kashmir Valley on the anniversary of 26/11.
On 26 November 2008, 10 Lashkar terrorists from Pakistan held the financial capital to hostage. 12 years later, on the same day, sources say Jaish terrorists were planning a huge attack.
Pakistan medicines, the arms and ammunition, Pak terrorists, their neutralization in Jammu is also showing that the bigger conspiracy was there, which the Pakistan had been hatching for a long time, and how they managed to get these terrorists inside the Indian territory.
But the alertness of our forces and timely action have foiled the nefarious designs of Pakistan. Those who aid terror from across the border and those who sympathize with terrorists within the country should hear this once again, to get the message that this is how terrorists will be dealt with on the Indian soil. Let's debate.
Joining us on the debate this evening, Dr. Shambit Patra of the BJP. He was in the frame. He's just stepped out to take a call. He will return. Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow of the ORF. This evening on the debate, Colonel R.S.N. Singh, M.R. Venkatesh, Major General J.D. Bakshi, Major Gaurav Arya in our studios here in Delhi. Iftikhar Misgar is a political analyst joining us live from Srinagar. Muhammad Aqib Renzusha, who's a youth leader, joining us live from Jammu and Kashmir. Majid Haidari, who's a political analyst, joining us also live from Srinagar this evening, and Sunit Chopra. My first question is to Majid Haidari, and Major Gaurav Arya can respond to what Majid Haidari says. Majid, I'd like to ask you if you also would condemn the plan of the Jaish-e-Mohammed to carry out the attack and congratulate our forces. I wanted to ask you that question, whether you want to join the Prime Minister in congratulating our forces and also in condemning on national TV the Jaish-e-Mohammed. We should all, fight as one this evening. Majid, fight terror as one.
Well, see, I condemn all terror.
But the issue is that after the shocking victory in Bihar, BJP has learned that bashing Pakistan and bashing the Gupkar gang is going to help them in Bengal. So we have this kind of a narrative coming in. But I have one humble submission that I would expect, I wish and I hope that my Honorable Prime Minister makes similar tweets for China as with regard to what is happening from finger 4 to finger 8. Because what was expected that China would retrieve towards finger 8, but now China started construction of roads from finger 4 to finger 6.
You can continue. I just want to draw you back to the question that I asked you, Majid. I'll give you your time. Drawing you back to the question that I asked you, would you like to condemn?
See, if it's about condemning, if it's about condemning Jaish-e-Mohammed, I'll condemn BJP for having released Maulana Azhar Masood. So I'll start by condemning that. I'll condemn the BJP government giving
I think Major Gaurav Arya
there are two things. And letting him free.
Okay.
And now these things are happening just ahead of the next Bengal election. So it's quite clear.
Come on. Okay. Majid, listen to me.
I asked you about
now,
Bihar
you want to condemn BJP for releasing Masood Azhar. You're absolutely right. He was released because there was approximately 150 prisoners who were going to be killed, though hijacked people inside the plane, Indians, who would have been killed. Now, do you also condemn the Congress party, and do you also condemn Mehbooba Mufti's father, because Mehbooba Mufti's daughter was kidnapped and then terrorists were released in Kashmir? And Ghulam Nabi Azad's relative was kidnapped and terrorists were released, many more than were released for IC 184. Would you also condemn that?
None of them was given an escort in
Would you condemn it or no?
So that is where the magnitude of BJP's failure is much bigger.
One minute, hold on. Because they were in Kashmir, these people had to... Now your problem is escort. Your problem is no longer that they were released. Now you have a different problem.
Shift the goalpost.
Your problem is they were given escort. How were they supposed to go from India to Afghanistan? When the deal and the Taliban received them in Kabul, And the deal with the terrorists, the Jaish-e-Mohammed and the Taliban was this: you let these 3 people go, then we will release the 150 Indians.
No, how do you distinguish between Pakistan?
Forget about China. I am asking you: do you condemn Rubaiya Saeed's release by the terrorists after terrorists were freed? Do you condemn Ghulam Nabi Azad in forcing the government to release many terrorists because his relative was kidnapped in Kashmir? Do you condemn that?
I am not here for any oath taking. Do you condemn the Chinese aggression?
We will come to China in 30 seconds exactly. We will come to China in exactly 30 seconds. Please condemn Mehbooba Mufti's father and please condemn Ghulam Nabi Azad. We will come to China. I will talk to you about China also. I promise I will give an answer. I promise. You condemn them. Condemn both of them first.
See, for those cases, none of the foreign...
The problem is you talk about Jaish-e-Mohammed, you talk about Bihar elections.
Understand the difference. Now talk about China.
Okay. No, I am sorry. You pick up a gun against the country, you're a dead man walking, sir. There is no local and there is no international. I'm sorry, you got your facts wrong. Were terrorists released or not? Yes or no? Am I lying or am I telling the truth? Yes or no?
Army veteran, you should know that.
Foreign terrorists?
Majid Hydari, let's talk about what happened yesterday. Majid Hydari, let's talk about what happened yesterday. 4 freshly infiltrated terrorists hiding in the cavity of a truck intercepted at 5 in the morning. Our alert forces, after a 3-hour encounter, eliminate those terrorists. There is a clear Pakistani imprint with the medicines that have been found, with the kind of shoes that they were wearing. They were heavily armed. They were trying to execute a 26/11 on 26/11. They were trying to execute something big and they were stopped immediately. Do you condemn that? Question is simple. Let's not go back to what the BJP did. This is about terrorism. Talk about it. Do you condemn what Pakistan has been trying to do?
They can stop the infiltration. What is this? You let them come in.
Majid Hydari, do you condemn what Pakistan has been trying to do? The question is very simple and the answer comes in a yes or a no.
Okay, he wants to ask a question. May I, with your permission, ask him?
Go ahead, Major.
Okay, Majid Hydari, you wanted to know something about India's borders. Please ask me. Why don't you what? Please tell me. I'll answer. Come, ask me.
I said, why don't you have a security mechanism the way you have on Nagrota post on the international border, from where this infiltration, as per the government sources, is taking place? Why do you have a security labs that truck?
Okay, now let me answer. Let me answer.
Bigger question.
You are repeating yourself. Allow me to answer. You have asked your question. Now I'll answer. Let me answer your question. Let me answer your question now. Along the international border, there is the BSF. In some cases, there is the army. Along the LOC, there is BSF and also Indian Army. The LOC is approximately 750 kilometers. The way infiltration happens is every day Pakistan tries thousands of times to infiltrate. Yeah. And once in 3-4 months, 1 or 2 people get through. Okay, that is the ratio. For every 1 infiltration attempt, 999 are foiled by the Indian Army. Please appreciate that. Please appreciate that.
Please appreciate that. Question asked by Majid Hydari, answer given by Major Gaurav Arya. I think Majid Hydari, there are other panelists on the debate. Let's give them a fair opportunity because, you know, I've given you a very fair opportunity to speak, and ask your questions even. Not just speak, but also ask your questions. Let me bring in Sushant Sareen and also Mohammad Aqib Renzu Shah. Mohammad, you know, I was trying to make a point when I asked that question to Majid Hydari, when I said we have to be united when we speak and condemn the Jaish-e-Mohammed. Renzu Shah, why don't you tell Majid Hydari that you condemn Jaish-e-Mohammed and Masood Azhar? And then I'd like Sushant Sareen to come in and talk about this plot and how dangerous this is, a 26/11 type plot. Renzu Shah and then Sushant can come in. Condemn Jaish-e-Mohammed, Masood Azhar.
I condemn the attack. But let's go to Ladakh first. You took our land, you took our Ladakh from us. And was that only to give Ladakh to China?
Who are you talking about?
Acha, let him answer here. And I'll take care of it.
No, go ahead. Renzu Shah, answer as Sushant will come in. Go ahead. I asked you about Nagrota, not Bihar, not Ladakh. I asked you about Nagrota.
We lost our 20 soldiers in Ladakh. Yeah. Why no one is having guts to talk about that?
Oh, my friend, I
अरे
will
भाई
open up
साहब,
my,
पीछे
you know what
छोड़,
I'll
आगे
do?
दौड़ मत
Like the
करो
Mumbai
ना,
police
पहले
asked
देखो ना
us to
लद्दाख
open
में
up
क्या
our
हो रहा है।
software. One second, Renzu Shah,
Have
hold on.
guts to speak
Renzu
about
Shah, listen,
Ladakh.
don't, listen, Renzu, you know,
Or you don't
Renzu Shah,
have-
this is why it
or
gets
you don't have
frustrating.
guts to
On a debate,
face
most often
China.
we are asked,
Tell us that.
listen, Renzu Shah,
कश्मीरी
listen.
लोग जाएंगे
Renzu
फिर
Shah,
खुद
listen.
अपने लद्दाख को
Renzu
बचाने।
Shah, listen.
हम
Often we
जाएंगे,
are asked,
we'll fight with
often
China,
we are
अगर आप
asked,
लोगों
why
के
do
पास दम
people
नहीं है।
lose their cool on
नहीं, वो
debates?
आपकी बाईस-
No,
बाईस
Renzu. People often ask us, Renzu, calm down, yaar. I'm giving you time to speak. Renzu, calm down. Often people ask us, why do people get agitated on the debate? It's exactly for this reason, right? I asked you a question about Nagrota. You're talking about Ladakh. You want me to count the number of debates we've had on Ladakh? For God's sake, don't shift the goalpost, okay?
Of course you are.
You want to answer? I'll
asked
give
me
you
a
10
question
seconds
about
more and then let
Nagrota,
Sushant
but
come in.
you took
You know, because
us
others
our
have to speak.
land. Ladakh,
30 seconds,
integral part of
Nagrota,
Jammu and Kashmir.
Nagrota, and then
Talk about
Sushant
that.
comes
We are
in.
losing our Ladakh. They are our brothers who are suffering over there. Have guts to speak about Ladakh.
You know, Niranjan,
Yeah, there are
this is
brothers too.
absolutely infuriating.
Yeah.
Infuriating
Sushant can come.
when the country
Okay,
stands
so-
united, when the Prime Minister
Niranjan.
sends out a message which is so clear, and there is just a simple question that is asked. Yes, Sushant Sareen will just come in. I'm just trying to make a point that it is infuriating when a question as simple as what Niranjan asked. Do you condemn the Jaish-e-Mohammed? Do you condemn Pakistan-backed terror? There are ifs, there are buts, and there are caveats. It's absolutely infuriating.
Yeah. Sushant, go ahead.
Yeah, in fact, Aishwarya, you took the words out of my mouth. Anytime anybody, when he's asked, number one, you should not have had to ask anybody whether they condemn an incident of terrorism. The very fact that you are having to ask somebody tells you where their loyalties lie, number one. Number two, the moment somebody starts condemning and then adds these caveats, it clearly means that the condemnation is not serious, it's not sincere. They don't want to do it. They're doing it because that's the lip service they're wanting to pay. But the moment they add the caveats, that is what the real thing is. Number three, listen, now, just shut up. Just shut up, because when you were speaking, I kept quiet. You had nothing to say. You had absolutely nothing to say. Now please keep quiet. Please keep quiet.
You took us
No,
our
please keep
land.
quiet.
You took Ladakh from us.
I'll talk to you about your land.
Akib, let him
Okay,
speak.
fine.
Come on,
so
have
I
guts
made
to
my
speak at all.
point. Now let me come to
Renzo,
the other point.
Renzo,
You have to
Who
shut
are
him
you
up,
to
Niranjan.
shut
I
him
can't
up?
speak like this.
Renzo,
Because
let
this
him
guy's
speak,
talking
yaar.
utter nonsense.
Who you are
Yeah,
to shut me up?
I can't speak like
Tell
this.
me who you are.
Renzo,
I'm
just
an
hold on.
elected representative.
Renzo, please don't.
Who the hell are you here?
I told you I will give you due.
What kind of a representative?
Renzo, I told you
I'm
you'll
an
get time,
elected
right?
representative, which you
You
are
have no-
not.
I told you you'll get time. This debate is about Nagrota.
I need an answer for this. Tell me who the hell you are.
Yeah, I'll give you an answer. Will you shut up?
Okay, Renzo, hold on. I'll have to, wait. Renzo, you got to wait, man. You got to wait.
Listen to the answer.
Okay, no. Let Iftikhar Misgar come on the other side and Sushant make your point. Sushant, complete your point. Sushant, complete your point and let Iftikhar Misgar come in.
You have to shut him up. Okay. The first
Yeah,
point
please
is,
come in,
number
Sushant.
one, his
Sushant,
heart is
Sushant.
bleeding for Ladakh, and these are the same people who actually
I just need a
denied
simple
Ladakh.
answer.
Yeah, he's responding
of any
to on
kind of
Ladakh point, yaar.
development when
Renzo.
They were in charge of Ladakh. So it's good that Ladakh has been lopped off, at least from Jammu and Kashmir, and it's a union territory, so that development can take place out there. That's point number one. Point number two,
how can
this
we
canard or this
elected
falsehoods which
representative,
are being
how we can
spread
see who the hell
of
I
a
am?
lot of territory
member of
having
my
been
people,
captured
which
by
we don't
China
have.
is utter
इसके साथ तो
nonsense.
एक
There is
बंदा
no
भी नहीं।
territory which
अगर
has been
ये
the
कश्मीर
territory
के
which
किसी
had been
restaurant
captured by China had happened decades back, or at least the last time we heard was 2006 under the UPA regime and 2013 under the UPA regime. This time around, the fact of the matter remains that the forces have done a very robust response to the Chinese attempts to encroach on Indian territory. Number one, and they've been kept at bay. Number three, this constant refrain by these apologists of terrorism to bring in China and say, why aren't you naming China? Now, I have two answers for that. One, how many times has Xi Jinping or their prime minister raised the issue of what is happening on the border? Not once. Have they named India? Not once. Why should the Indian prime minister do the same thing? Our response on the ground is enough of an answer. And number two, the fact that the Indian public opinion is openly expressing itself against China in the way it is doing is enough of an answer. Finally, let me come to what the prime minister said today. And I think more than what the prime minister said, I think it is what he did not say, which is very important. The fact, and I can't remember the last time when an encounter has taken place in Jammu and Kashmir, terrorists have been gunned down, a success has been achieved by the security forces, and the prime minister has held such a high-level meeting in New Delhi. The fact that this meeting has been held, I think tells you a lot more than what the Prime Minister has tweeted or what statements have come out. And very clearly, I see this meeting as a solid warning to the Pakistanis and their agents in Kashmir and elsewhere of the kind of response which is going to come from the Indian state if an attack like this were ever to succeed. I think that is what was discussed today, and perhaps certain battle plans and other plans were discussed today. I can't imagine a high-level meeting like this taking place only to discuss a successful warding off of a terror strike.
Can I come in?
Exactly.
Absolutely. And Iftikhar Misgar also wants to come in at this point of time. But the question has been absolutely simple. There is a call for unity. There is an unequivocal message against Pakistan-backed terror. What we are seeing here is a peddling of a narrative that we had seen post-Pulwama, post the Balakot strikes. Why? Why is it that there is a certain section that just cannot tolerate India's uncompromising stand on terrorism? Iftikhar.
When the problem with this country, what we are facing this last couple of years is every story of army is being manipulated by political parties for their political reasons to come up in the vote politics. That is why most of the people are not able.
So can you please explain army is being manipulated? Did you say army is being manipulated, Iftikhar? Iftikhar, did you say army is being manipulated? Can you please explain that?
Political party, yes,
army is being manipulated?
See now, when we are counting, see, if army has done something good in
that's a very serious charge that you're leveling.
You are counting the years.
General Bakshi will respond to you. General Bakshi will respond to you.
Saying that army is doing good in BJP Sarkar. That means there is something good in BJP Sarkar. That is why army is doing better.
So please don't.
Are you telling? Is Sushant telling me that army was not good in the tenure of Congress? Is Indian army working
so nobody's
under
questioned the army?
Influences of the country?
Iftikhar Misgar, nobody has questioned the army. Nobody has questioned the army.
I have other
very serious.
I have a Kashmir problem.
Blame the government of the day for any failure. Then what is the problem in giving credit to the government of the day for any success? You blame them for a failure, but you will not give them credit for success. What kind of logic is this?
Behind it and let a debate Kashmir problem exists.
General Bakshi is responding.
Sir, let somebody else speak. Discussing other things, he must discuss the
kindly
Kashmir
let
problem
somebody else speak? The question has been addressed to me. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, the army is a national institution. In the interests of national morale, military morale, it is essential for the leadership to acknowledge the bravery, the heroism, the successes of the armed forces that has happened in every democratic dispensation that has ruled India since 1947. It is an essential, it is a given. So I don't understand this sudden, please, did I interfere? Did I interfere? Did I butt in when you were talking? Then why can't you wait your turn? No, why can't you wait your turn? No, sir, why can't you wait your turn? You will be asked by the other person. Why can't you wait your turn? Sir, later, can I finish what I have to say? Before I hear questions, I will be happy to answer your question. Let me just finish what I have to say. You know, the military has scored a spectacular and a resounding success. 4 Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists, dangerous terrorists, with a whole cache of 11 AK-47, 29 grenades, a whole lot of explosives, were heading for the valley to repeat a 26/11 style mass casualty strike. They have been stopped in their track. You know, instead of, expecting a word of praise, a word of thank God it's been averted, all that we have got in the armed forces, we have been reviled, we have been abused. Why did you stop them at the border? Why did you stop them at this thing? Is it your task to look for a proper ambush ground? Please leave it to the commander on the spot. He's done his job, he's killed them all, he's recovered every single weapon. And by the way, then we got to know the direction of the assault, whether it was heading for Sujua camp or one of the army camps in Samba or where. We were very sure now that they are heading for the valley. We sprung our ambush. It required the military application of rocket launchers. Did you hear those 3 bangs? We are told it was a routine naka. Arey saab, routine nakas ke paas rocket launchers nahi hote. For God's sake, it's a very well planned, executed operation. Meticulous. You know, there has been excellent intelligence. Instead of praising your armed forces, instead of thanking God that a lot of Kashmiri lives have been saved, you see, all that you got is that you stand up here and abuse the armed forces. This is getting to be a bit too much, sir. And all the parties, you know what they were heading for. They were trying to disrupt the electoral process there. They were trying to disrupt the electoral process, which the Gupkar gang and all the parties have now joined. All those parties who said they will not take part in the elections till your Article 370 is brought back, they have all joined. This was the process they were trying to target.
Sunit Chopra.
They were trying to target the Gupkar gang itself.
Yes.
And instead of being grateful, you, all that you got is
Absolutely, and that's the question, Major General Bakshi.
Tell me one thing, sir.
Yes.
Now, Kashmiris have no problem with Indian army. Kashmiris have a problem with the commitment what Indian government has made with us and have not come to the conclusion till date. The term of plebiscite, the terms, other terms which were confined to Kashmiri, that has not
when
been
there is an attempt to derail and defeat the democratic process, one of the first, most important political activity that is to take place in Kashmir after the abrogation of Article 370, there is an attempt to derail it by Pakistan. And the proof has been ample and the proof has been clear. Are you telling us that this is not an issue for every Kashmiri? And like Major General G.D. Bakshi said, instead of lauding the forces for averting what could have been a catastrophe, there are questions being asked on why not this, why not that? Are you telling us that 4 heavily armed Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists who have been freshly infiltrated, who are on their way to Kashmir to execute something on 26/11 to send a message to the world that this will not stop? You will not condemn that. And you will not call that a problem. You will not say that that is going to affect the lives of Kashmiris the way generations have been affected for years.
In the days of the Congress, you have a problem with Congress. You have a political problem. You have political jealousy. You have something.
Here we are talking about terrorism. What is it about the Congress or the BJP? We are simply talking about terrorism that is backed by Pakistan.
Sir, okay, Mr. Because Mr. Iftikhar Misgar, you jumped in before Sagarika completed her question saying we have a problem with this one and that one. Yes, we have a problem. I'll tell you who we have a problem with. Listen very carefully, and this is between Sunit Chopra and then M.R. Venkatesh can come in. I'll tell you who we have a problem with. Okay? A PDP spokesperson said, encounters are anti-election events. He was talking about the army operations. Wahidur Rahman, on the 5th of May 2020, said an encounter is an anti-election event. It is a design to kill the democratic process. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you who we have a problem with. Okay, hold on. I think it was Omar Abdullah who, when the Northern Command celebrated the killing of 250 terrorists in the valley, said, Omar Abdullah said, and I'm going by facts because, you know, this debate is based on research and facts. And Sunit Chopra can take this question and M.R. Venkatesh can come in. Because I'm responding to what Iftikhar Misgar said that we have a problem with this and that. We have a problem with a few people who make such arguments, I'll tell you. Omar Abdullah said, we have a problem. He had a problem with Northern Command celebrating the killing of 250 terrorists in the valley, and he said the compulsion of killing terrorists. He said the compulsion of killing terrorists shouldn't be treated as a cause for celebration. Now just picture this, Mr. Chopra. You know, forget for a minute that I'm a journalist and you're a politician. Okay? Both of us are Indians. And both of us know terrorists came in to carry out a 26/11 type attack. Sir, I asked you a question. If you could kindly take that question and M.R. Venkatesh could respond to you, we can have a good debate.
Yes, but
Sir, go ahead.
You will let me answer first. You will let me answer first. point is that
question was to you, sir.
In this case, you have already two cases behind you. One is Pulwama and the other is Pathankot. It took you a long time to understand. But why is it that you understand only at election time? Why don't you understand before?
Election?
Already the news channels are full of news that the people of the Gupkar People's Movement are not being allowed to campaign, while the BJP is giving full right to campaign all over. You are already preventing democratic
are you
rights.
alleging?
So now you're covering it up with this kind
no,
of
are you
thing?
alleging?
You should be
are you
ashamed
alleging,
of
mister?
yourself.
One second. Are you alleging? Are you,
are
you, Mr. Chopra, trying to?
I have heard those people on another.
I think MR Venkatesh understood the point that you were trying to make, and it's a very serious point. You're almost alleging that this
I am making
operation
a very serious
was
point.
timed to the elections.
Why
are you saying that?
Did you allow what happened in Pathankot?
Okay, I think MR will.
You
no, people are watching. They will judge you. I will ask you a counter question. MR Venkatesh will respond.
And the same narrative is back there.
Those people should not have been allowed to go on a
exactly
road
the argument you made in Pulwama. That it was timed to the 2019 elections. MR will respond.
It's a shame.
MR will respond.
What you have done is a shame.
It's a shame that you're making this argument, sir, but let us
cover up your little election tactics. Give the people the right. Give the people the democratic right to campaign for elections. And
what are you calling an election tactic,
This bloody Marxist is talking about elections when he doesn't believe in democracy and elections. So ask him to keep shut for the moment. Keep quiet. You keep quiet. Okay. You had a shot. See, ask him to. See, I would request Niranjan. I would request you to
control your bloody tongue.
You keep quiet, you bloody Marxist. Keep quiet.
Sunit Chopra.
Keep quiet. Please put down his
person.
We will not allow this language on this show. Please refrain from using this language.
Let's get on with it.
Okay, Niranjan, look at it. I think
MR, make your point. Let's get on with it.
That is why he's blabbering. Now coming to this, let me. Ask him to keep shut, yaar. Niranjan, if you don't want me to speak, ask this idiot to
He's listening to you. Mr. Chopra, okay, Mr. Chopra, let him respond.
This man goes on haggling me.
Mr. Chopra, let him respond, sir. Sir, let him respond. Everyone gets to speak on the debate. Yeah, MR, go on.
Now listen. Had the terrorists been successful, I will ask a counterfactual question. People like, what is this madman all up to? Listen, Sunit Chopra, please listen.
Okay.
You are a madman. You should control your bloody tongue. Learn to control your tongue. And if you
not
can't
required,
do it,
not required.
I'll make you do it.
Not required.
Okay, Sunit Chopra.
Not required. Pull back, please. Not required.
I'll make you do it.
अरे इसको लस्सी पिला के लाओ यार शो में काय को बूढ़ा को इतना
Shambit.
एक शॉट ज्यादा पी लिया
Yeah.
Very quick point.
Okay, now let me make my point. If this counterfact, let me put a counterfact.
Okay, MR, quickly make your point. Shambit also wants to come in, and then Major Gaurav Arya also wants to come in. RSN hasn't even spoken. RSN hasn't even spoken.
तुम क्या करोगे? तुम्हारे जैसे बहुत देखे हमने सड़कों पे.
I think we're deviating from a very, very serious debate. Here we are talking about national security. We're deviating from a very, very serious debate, gentlemen. MR Venkatesh, yes, MR Venkatesh and Sunit Chopra, we'll be back to you. But yes, Major Gaurav Arya wants to make a point, and then we'll go to Samit Patra.
I just want to make a very quick point, This, Chopra sir, with your permission, sir. With your permission, Chopra sir. Just 1 second, sir. I'll just make a 10-second point, and my point is this. In India, there are 28 states, and every 5 years, there are elections, which means every 2.5, 3 months, there is elections. So whenever the government does something, you'll say he did it for Bihar, he did it for Chhattisgarh, he did it for Tamil Nadu, he did it for Rajasthan. I mean, every state has elections. Plus you have the central elections, which is the Lok Sabha elections. Or you have some district elections in India. Elections are a continuous festival. Every 2.5 months, please calculate 60 months in 5 years, 28 states.
Yeah.
election hota hai.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, you can't get rid of elections.
Yeah, I want to go
because of this.
Yeah, and Shambit, And Shambit is coming in. He had to take a call, and he's back joining us on the debate now. Shambit, we were talking about how the Gupkar gang hasn't said anything about this plot by the Jaish-e-Mohammed.
Stop saying gang. It's
not a word.
Gupkar People's Movement.
It's a terrorist gang.
Very much
League.
See, Niranjan, if you
Gang.
mute this gentleman's voice, I would be able to talk at least in peace.
Control your language.
Niranjan, I'm really astonished.
Okay, Iftikhar Misgar.
Just a second.
Shambit
If
and
only you
Iftikhar
can
Misgar.
lower the voice of Mr.
Yes.
Karl Marx, I would be able to speak. Yeah. I'm astonished, Niranjan, that we have a debate regarding national security. We have a debate as to how Pakistan is trying to dent the democracy of India. We have a debate on infiltration from Pakistan and how we can curb terrorism from Pakistan. And we have two sides to debate. And we have people on one side and we have people on the other side of the debate. I don't understand that this, does this happen in any other country? Of course not. This happens only in India, where we have a Sunni Chopra, we have a Mr. Mistgar and others who would be continuously ranting against the benefits of India, who would be continuously ranting against India. No, what is your problem, Mr. Mistgar? What is your problem? Here, this is the valor of the Indian Army. The Indian Army and the Indian intelligence forces in a symbiotic action have taken down against the forces which were inimical to India. What is the problem? Why won't you congratulate them? Why won't you denounce Pakistan? Why won't you point the fingers towards the inimical country? And the ones we are pointing the fingers towards the inimical country, you start shouting at us. I don't understand as to why you do that. Number one. Number two, we all know that democracy is the core agenda of India, while dictatorial attitude and terrorism is the core agenda of Pakistan. We have the DDC elections from tomorrow in Jammu and Kashmir. Panchayati Raj Act had to be amended for the first time after abrogation of Article 370 to see that governance in the grassroots level is brought to DDC election. Of course, there are forces outside of the country like Pakistan and others who would try to foil this attempt of democracy. And I'm astonished that there are forces within the country like the quote-unquote Gupkar gang. I would call it gang. This gang which is trying to foil the attempts of democracy within this country. And I'm astonished we have supporters here.
Can you answer me your relationship with Gupkar in Ladakh? You have a tie-up in Ladakh with Gupkar National Conference?
Yes, I will answer. This is an off-task question, and I would like to answer this earnestly for the people, not for you, for the people and the viewers of Republic. Remember, as far as the Gupkar alliance in Jammu and Kashmir is concerned, the present one that we're discussing about, it is a pole alliance. They would be fighting the elections together. They have a common ideology, and then they want abrogation of Article 370 to be repealed. They want the Article 370 to come back again. As far as we in the Hill Council in Ladakh is concerned, we fought the elections outside of it. When the Hill Council was formed, just as we had in Jammu Kashmir election, an inflicted mandate. If one of the party of the Hill Council drops out, there is no Hill Council, you don't have any administration in Ladakh, and the people of Ladakh are left in lurch. So what do you do? Either you form a government there, a council there, with every No, Jai Ho, there's nothing Jai Ho. There is nothing Jai Ho, sir. There is nothing Jai Ho. We are the ones who abrogated Article 370. You are Guptachar Ho, Hamara Jai Ho and you are Guptachar Ho, You are Guptachar Ho.
कहने आपके बीजेपी
ये क्या वाह अरे पाकिस्तान वाले ऐसे वाह करके मुजरा मत करिए पूरा देश देख रहा है आपके मुजरे को
How you elaborated it वाह लद्दाख में करेंगे तो आपका
ये क्या हो गया है ये इमरान खान ऐसे वाह क्यों कर रहे हैं अरे भैया आपका ट्रक तो उड़ गया है आपके आतंकवादी मारे गए हैं because I don't have a television channel in front of me, I cannot see who are the participants. But I gather the one who is speaking is from Pakistan and is a Pakistan representative. I cannot see who is there.
Issue is a political one which has to be
Iftikhar Misgar, oh, मेरे भाई साहब हैं. Oh, अच्छा. I thought Kamar Chima. Oh, sorry. I thought I was debating with Kamar Chima. अरे, if there is इतना कम difference है Iftikhar जी के बीच में और Kamar Chima जी के बारे में मुझे पता ही नहीं चला. Sorry. ये तो मेरे भाई है. But I don't understand as to why Mr. Iftikhar wants Article 370 to be brought back. Why in the hell you want Article 370 to be brought back? No, give me you asked me a question, I answered you. Now it is my turn to ask you a question. Can you answer?
Yes.
Can you answer that? You asked me a question, I earnestly answered that. Now it's my turn to ask you a question, Iftikhar bhai, and please answer me. See, no, sir. So I don't have a television in front of me. It is not working, so I did not see you. I thought it was Kamar Chima whom I was debating with. Now that I know that you are my brother, I'm debating with, I have a question for you, sir. So you want the Article 370 back. Now tell me, Article 370, who all are the ones who want Article 370 back? Pakistan wants Article 370 back. China wants Article 370 back. You want Article 370 back. Why? Do you know what Operation Tupac is? I mean, we have experts over here. Please ask them. In 1989, when General Zia-ul Haq brought in Operation Tupac, what was it? Operation Tupac was to bleed India to 1,000 cuts and to use Article 370 to, in fact, ruthlessly drive the Indian citizens, particularly the youth, to the path of terrorism. So that misutilizing Article
no matter how many times you drive home the point, there will be an attempt to deviate and deflect. No matter how many times you drive home the point, because when it comes to terrorism, there can be no black, there can be no grey. It's either black or white. You're either with India or you're either with forces who perpetrate terror, or you're either with forces who support and push and back terror. Colonel Arasan Singh has been waiting patiently to come in and make a point, and I'd like to take, I'd like him to, in fact, debate along with Majid Hydari. Colonel Arasan Singh, we've had these debates multiple times, and today what we've seen is a repeat and an attempt to bring back the kind of narrative that we'd seen after Pulwama. There are questions being asked. About why couldn't this happen? Why couldn't forces do this? Why couldn't forces do that? When the fact remains that 4 Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists who were infiltrated have been stopped in their tracks. Why cannot? Today the question is simple. Why can't you celebrate our forces? Why can't you stand united at a time when Kashmir wants progress? Kashmir wants to pull out from the clutches of terror. And it did only and only because of the efforts of our forces. Colonel Arasan Singh.
No, let me give out the contrast to you. Here it was our Prime Minister who commended the alertness of our security apparatus, and he saluted the bravery of our security personnel. And that is what a Prime Minister of a decent, strong country should do. And look at the versatility of our security forces. They have not only repelled. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, Colonel. Go ahead, Arasan. Go ahead. We can hear you loud and clear.
They have not only dealt with the conventional misadventure of China, but they have also dealt with the with this proxy war at the same time. So that
on the there is no mention of China in the tweet.
What is happening as far as Pakistan
China has led India in Ladakh. 20 of our soldiers were martyred, and our government shared the dice with China on an international forum.
And Majid Hydari, you are also celebrating the martyrs. Celebration of martyrs is a compulsion for Pakistan, because if Pakistan does not salute its martyrs, that includes the jihadi Prime Minister, the jihadi army, and the jihadi awam. There will be nobody to fight.
And the debate is about Nagrota. And the debate is about Pakistan-backed terror, Majid.
Remember Majid Hydari, suniye, there is nobody who fights for Pakistan. Take it from me. Everybody fights in the name of Islam.
The fighters have not produced
military invasion. You have
infiltration of the side of Pakistan, but you have military invasion from China. Why are you not concerned about that? No, what is the problem? Why do we share a dice with China on the international forum? Why?
Nobody. And you are also not debating for India.
You are also
not debating for India.
Okay, by your own logic.
You are defending.
Yeah, Majid. Majid, okay.
You are
Bye.
defending Pakistan.
No.
Brand of Islam and jihadism. That is your problem.
I am
Colonel
defending
Arsen Singh.
my country, my homeland. I am defending
Yeah.
my
You
nation.
made a very valid point. Because Majid.
Do you?
Majid.
Do you?
Oh. Majid.
As martyrs?
Majid.
Do you consider
Colonel.
those slain Pakistani men as martyrs? Tell me now today. Tell me here clearly.
Yeah, okay. Answers question.
Don't consider those
Answers question and then I'll come.
in Ladakh as martyrs that Indian government shared the dice with Chinese just recently. Do you not know about that?
Yeah, and you want Indian government to share the dice with Pakistan, right? Majid, okay. Fantastic. What an argument. Wow.
Forget about the gang in China.
Hold on. Majid.
One more thing. Another thing. That this
Go ahead, Colonel.
has taken place.
Okay, last point and then I'll come in.
This action has taken place on National Highway 1 Alpha. The infiltration, whatever it has happened through Samba. So many incidents of terrorist incidents have taken place on NH1A. I call it the terror highway. Where do you Kashmiris come in here, yeah?
We have a permanent military invasion in Ladakh. We have a permanent Chinese military invasion in Ladakh and nobody is talking about that. Because
Yeah. Fantastic. The three fantastic arguments of Majid Hydari. No. Majid, listen to me. Colonel Arsen Singh.
There should have been a politician.
Colonel Arsen Singh.
Your lordship.
No. Listen to this. So, from whatever Majid Hydari's intervention, I have taken away three beautiful points. Fantastic points. Colonel Arsen Singh. No, listen to this. Yeah, Shambit, I'm coming to you. I just want to make... What an argument, Majid. What an argument. Sir, listen to this. It's fantastic. Listen to this. Does Gupkar movement, like Sunit Chopra said, Gupkar movement. Does the Gupkar movement want Chinese intervention? Yes. Who said it? Gupkar parties want Chinese intervention? Yes. Do Gupkar parties? Did Majid Hydari? So you want Chinese involvement on Article 370, but you don't want India to talk to China, but you want India to go and talk to Pakistan. No, one second, Majid, are you listening to yourself? You're saying, why are you talking to China? And you're saying, go talk to Pakistan. And then you're saying, let China come and help us in Article 370. What are you even saying? Yeah, Shambit can come in and then Major Arya wants to come in. Shambit and then Major Arya. What are you even saying? Are you listening to yourself?
Yeah, I'll be very quick.
What are you saying?
Niranjan and Sagarika, just allow me a few seconds because, see. I joined late, so I'll be very quick. Remember, only a couple of fortnights ago, you remember on the floor of the National Assembly in Pakistan, we had the LOP of Pakistan getting up and saying, referring to Captain Abhinandan during his release, saying that the Chief of Army Staff of Pakistan came, he was sweating, he was shaking, and he had a sweaty forehead.
Yes.
And he said, Khuda ke waaste hame bacha lo. Khuda ke waaste Captain Abhinandan ko chhod do. Nahi to Pakistan. ये तारिक पीरजादा की आवाज को कम कर दीजिए जरा. ये तारिक पीरजादा की आवाज को कम कर दीजिए.
That's Majid Hydari. This is an internal debate. Internal debate.
Oh, ये मेरा भाई. अच्छा मेरा भाई है.
Internal debate. That's Majid Hydari. Internal debate.
Oh, sorry. I don't have a TV in front of me.
I can't see you, sir.
I don't have a TV in front of me. I thought it was the usual Tariq Pirzada shouting from the roof. Oh, ये तो हमारा हिंदुस्तानी भाई है. अच्छा, ठीक है. नहीं, सुनो मेरे भाई, सुनो. I mean, I don't understand as to why these people have no faith in India. While we have the Senate in Pakistan, the National Assembly in Pakistan discussing about how powerful India is, that the commander-in-chief of Pakistan was sweating, shaking, and was saying, "Khuda ke वास्ते तुम अभिनंदन को छोड़ दो, नहीं तो हमारे ऊपर कहर बरप जाएगा, and India will attack in the evening. India will attack at 9 p.m. So just imagine they are shaking, and look at these people, whom I sorely consider Tariq Pirzada. I'm sorry for that, but I mean, if I don't see the television and I hear you, often I would fall in this trap. I would consider you as a Pakistan panelist rather than my own
Indian
brother
panelist.
from Jammu Kashmir. No. After my two mistakes, I have realized that this is an internal debate and we don't have Pakistani panelists. No, sorry, my cable is not working, and only after 2 mistakes I have realized that it is not Tariq Pirzada or Qamar Cheema. They are our own brothers in Jammu and Kashmir.
Yes.
And what more dangerous? I mean, if I hear the voices of my own brothers, they resound the same opinion narrative of Pakistan. This is more shameful for me than having a Tariq Pirzada or a Qamar Cheema in the debate. I mean, just imagine, खाते इस देश का है, गाते उस देश का है. I mean, you want Article 370 back, you want the manual scavengers to exist. I mean, today the manual scavenging act has been removed from India. It's a big news. And you don't want the manual scavengers in Jammu Kashmir.
Okay, Majid, okay, you know what, Renzu Shah,
you did not want women's rights.
Okay, Shambit.
Okay. Yes.
Go ahead, Shambit.
Go ahead. I have to take a... Go ahead. Make your point.
Yeah. Okay, you have given me the go. Thank you for the go ahead that you have given me. See, you have to understand that till this country, our country, beautiful country, India has two sides to the debate as far as Pakistan is concerned. We are never safe. Our national security is always in a jeopardize. Tell me, in US or in any country, when there is a national attack, when there was 9/11, did they ever have, could you imagine that US politicians or US citizens could be a divided lot? Did they have two sides? Did they have a Majid Haidri? Did they have a Suneet Chopra? No, you cannot afford to have two sides. It's only in India where our forces, they neutralize the terrorists. We have certain people whom I confuse because of no television in front of me as Pakistani panelists. They come and protect, they come and speak for the terrorists and against our army jawans.
Oh my God. Have to take a break, Majid.
I mean,
10 seconds.
This is shameful.
Have to end the debate at this point. But Majid, I'll give you 10 seconds because he's waited patiently. Okay, Majid, 10 seconds to respond. I have to take a break. Suneet Chopra still trying. Suneet Chopra, okay. Suneet Chopra, you want to take the time? 10 seconds. 10 seconds and I'm taking a break. 10 seconds. Go ahead, sir.
Let me tell him that American...
10 seconds. Suneet Chopra.
सुनीत चोपड़ा जी आपके पीठ के पीछे ये इमरान खान का स्टैचू क्यों है? पहले ये इमरान खान का स्टैचू हटाओ अपने पीठ के पीछे से. ये पीठ के पीछे इमरान खान का स्टैचू क्यों है?
Thank you for joining us. Shambit, Sushant Sareen, thank you. Colonel Arasin Singh, M.R. Venkatesh, Major General Giri Bakshi, Major Gaurav Arya stays on for the second debate. Iftikhar Misgar, Aqib Renzu Shah, Majid Haidri, Suneet Chopra, thank you for joining us on the debate. Debate number 2 is coming up. Stay tuned.